And as those two boys telling each other they love each other and hugging each other, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful moment. Because to me, the way we are to the world, the way we interact, the way we analyze and understand things is through the stories we know we're made of, through the stories we learn, through the stories we live. All of those stories create lenses, the stories from our families, the stories from the news we hear, the stories from our history books, the stories we experience. They create a unique lens that we see the world through. And unless we understand that every single person has their own unique lens or set of lenses, how can we even expect to get any agreement signed, or how can we expect to live in a respectful, just way? Because we just don't understand how other people see the world, experience it, and what their needs are. If you put, let's say, an Israeli or a Palestinian in the room and you just tell them, okay, what is the issue there? They will go back to the national narratives, they will go back to the national themes, and they will turn into national ambassadors. And then you have two blocks that are like two walls that are not listening to one another, because it's those wholly bigger than me stories that don't have any room for anything else. But if you just scale down the stories to personal experiences, to personal stories, then you cannot argue. I can't argue with your pain. I can't argue with your fear, because as a person, I'm seeing you and I can connect to those emotions because at the end, they are absolutely universal. And so through storytelling, we kind of bring people together as people.
Did you ever see someone who changed, besides yourself, maybe, see anyone change their perspective or like have a complete flip in what they thought because of the power of stories?
Yes. So I'll tell an example with a teenager that to me happened a few years ago, and I'm still in touch with this group of teens. And this was this beautiful young boy, very, very tall, totally like teenager, like he grew up, he's, all the proportion is not right yet, very big feet and like, hiding behind like in a hoodie because he's not sure how to, what to do with his body, and he grew up too fast and super bright and sweet, already like taller than me, I think, and he was like 16. And he kept to himself for the first part of the workshop. We're spending a weekend. It was a weekend retreat with a bunch of kids, Jewish, Muslim, and Christians within Israel. And he kind of kept to himself. And, he was like this cool, like, he was a cool kid, taller than everyone with his hoodie. And in the evening, we did a storytelling activity, sitting in the dark, more or less. It was very lighting, and I started telling my stories. And I really wanted to create a safe space where everyone would feel comfortable. And so it's very important to first set the rules of we're not judging, we're not interrupting. Why I respect every single one of you for being here, acknowledging how brave they already are to be here. Just because you really want people who take part into those groups to feel safe and appreciated, because it's not an easy process, especially in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict situation. And so I had this teenager who for the first time starts speaking and tells me the first sentence I ever heard him say to the group was, I come from a violent background. My city is violent. My neighborhood is violent. Boys in my neighborhood, my friends, like, if you want to be a boy, if you want to be a man, if you want to be cool, you have to be tough. And it was the first sentence he said to the entire group. And I was like, this is so heavy for a 16-year-old boy. He has to go through that. Like, he has no choice. There's only one way to be a man. And the only thing that are valued within a man are to be tough, to be violent, to be strong. And maybe that's not what he wants to be. And so we started doing storytelling, and he shared a story about his big sister and how much he loves her. And his voice changed, and suddenly it was soft, and it was full of love. Like, he admires and he loves and he cares so much for his big sister. Like, and the way he talked about her was so gentle and respectful, and how she's smart and how she's kind and how she's sweet and how she always comforts him. So like this bubble of sweetness into this boy's life who was so like full of edges, very sharp edges. And so we started to talk, and he started bonding with other kids, and he stayed, basically worked with me for almost 3 years, with another group of teens that we had weekend retreats, we had workshops, and we had summer programs together. It was with an organization called Jerusalem Peace Builders. And in the summer program, so there were other boys who were kind of in the Middle East. No matter if you're Jewish or Muslim or Christian, the version of being a man is usually goes with this very heaviness of being strong, macho, and not crying. And I really don't like that. So I always the way I bring the stories are never gendered. I always want everyone to be at the same level of opening up and emotions. And we have those very small sessions in smaller groups where people can open up more. And I see this boy who's now 1 or 2 years older, who's looking at his friend. So one is Muslim, one is Jewish. And they just look at each other, listen at each other, and tell stories about how afraid they are of what they're going to do next. Because in Israel, Palestine, when you turn 18, if you're a Jew, you're turned into a soldier. And when you're a Palestinian, you don't have that many options, and it's very hard. And so they were scared because they were getting to that age, and they share those stories, they look at each other, and suddenly one of them says, "Wow, I love you, dude." And I know I'm like, I never said I love you to a boy before, but I want to tell you I love you because you're my friend. And as those two boys telling each other they love each other and hugging each other, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful moment ever. And I had something to do on this earth, and that's what I did, and it's good and it's beautiful. And it's amazing, and it's just offering people a safe space to be more than what society or what they feel society expects from them. And here it happened that one of them was a Palestinian Muslim and one was a Jewish Israeli, and that they're still in touch. And then when one is in the army, the other is figuring out what he wants to do in life, but they're still in touch. And when the one in the army feels that like he's losing track of who he is, he calls back his Palestinian friends like, hey, can you just yell at me and remind me who I am and what my values are, because I don't want to forget them. And this beautiful relationship was born through stories and through letting them share emotions. And when are people asked to share emotion at such a young age? When it's not manipulated emotions just to serve the purpose of the bigger national narrative. When it's sharing emotions to bring people together at the people level, at the human level, and when it's about bringing empathy. And that's just one of the many stories, but it's just, I love these kids so incredibly. Yes, with them, I really felt I could help. I really felt I let them speak. They didn't only grow as wonderful humans, but they also grew a friendship, and they support one another, and that's pretty cool.
I almost cried. It's so beautiful.
It is. Like, just seeing those, big teenagers hugging each other, telling each other they love each other, and I'm like, oh, yes.
Like what you were saying about ripple effects, that will affect everyone that they come in touch with. Both. Yeah. Like that affects their families, that affects their friends, because they have that story now to share with them.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah. Wow. Amazing.